Hey, you never know, Aiko. I'm pretty sure Akira has some good connections. We opened this week with a cold opener that did not match up with the happy music, like, at all. Now you see, this is what happens when you let YouTube pick your music. Anyway, the episode proper opened on a basketball game with
Urge to kill rising.
Yes, as I've previously stated, I really do not care for these three stooges and their terrible senses of humor. I mean, just imagine if we got a whole episode about these guys. Well, thankfully, they were at least temporarily silenced by yet another Digimon voice actress. Though this time, this girl named Okuyama started off as one of the biggest characters, managing to easily win a game for her team. And as a part of a bet they made beforehand, the Stooges were forced to clean up afterwards. Unfortunately, that didn't shut them up, and they proceeded to tease Okuyama over her height. Now again, while I am mostly a pacifist who tries to promote non-violence,
Look out! Look out! Look out! Good Lord, what a lariat!
I gotta respect someone who understands the value of a clothesline from hell. Granted, I think she should have followed up with a Kokina clutch instead of just a standard choke, but still, not a bad showing. She even ended up making a fangirl out of Hazuki. Alright, I do understand why the fan subbers changed the line here, because otherwise they would probably require some kind of elaborate explanation like I'm about to do, so I won't count this as a mistake or anything. But at the same time, it is worth mentioning that Aiko actually says here that Okuyama isn't a Takarazuka actress. For those unaware, the Takarazuka Revue is an all-women's musical theater troupe that puts on very flashy Broadway-esque shows. They were of course the inspiration for many well-known shoujo manga, including Revolutionary Girl Utena. I bring all this up because they bring it up a few more times in this episode, and of course they make a more direct reference here. And hey, at least this show works in its references more naturally than Steven Universe. Anyway, the reason for the Takarazuka clothes were because Okuyama was quickly outgrowing many of her old clothes and thus didn't have anything to wear to her upcoming birthday party. So Hazuki tried to give her some of the many outfits her mother bought for her. Okay, I just want to know, what's this lady's idea of coordination if her daughter's wardrobe is this random? Regardless, they still needed to find something Okuyama would want to wear, and in a surprisingly clever little bit, Doremi asked her to draw a picture of her favorite dress that she couldn't wear anymore. From there, they just had to find something similar in Hazuki's closet, and yes, when I say find, I actually mean use magic to sew one up. But yeah, surprisingly intuitive moment for our main heroine. Granted, they still had to acknowledge that she doesn't have many practical skills, and Hazuki insisted on creating the dress as if she knew her friend would screw it up. Oh boy, that's a face that says, yeah, I know my place on this food chain. Anyway, they successfully made the dress, and Okuyama was even able to wear it to her birthday party. Of course, her biggest fan Hazuki wanted to give her something more than a supposedly old dress. Well, to be fair, they also give those to pro wrestlers right before big matches, which she certainly qualifies for. However, since we needed a conflict for this episode, they brought these idiots back. Hooray. And unsurprisingly, they, or more specifically Sagawa, ended up making her cry after saying she didn't look good in a dress. A dress that she was sad that she wasn't able to wear because she was unable to control how her body developed and had clearly developed a complex over. Yeah, have I mentioned yet how much I hate these brats? Because I'll keep saying it as much as necessary. The next day, Okuyama, for the most part, thankfully recovered, but she also rightfully decided to give the cold shoulder to these idiots and their terrible excuses for jokes. Maybe the problem is that y'all take advice from those pre-cured comedians, and yes, I'm trying to use the biggest air quotes possible. A little aside, but I think I know exactly why I don't care for a lot of Japanese comedians and their so-called style of humor. There's no real established straight man. The comedian duos tend to both act the fool part, and thus there's no one to point out their fallacies, and we don't have a measure to tell how silly they're being. And even in the times when there is a straight man, they tend to be just as over the top, and even worse, they sometimes switch roles, which makes everything even harder to follow. The fact that their repertoire is made up of mostly just a bunch of dad jokes that would only get a laugh out of Fu or Chiyu certainly doesn't help matters. This was especially bad for the trio, as Okuyama stated that she wouldn't accept any apologies from them unless they got an honest laugh out of her. Yeah, I'm going to bet she knew, outside of a magic spell, that wasn't going to happen with these guys. And I can't really blame her when Sagawa's apology was just as half-assed as their jokes. Well, okay, so I guess the brainy type magical girls are the ones who laugh at that stuff. Just gotta make a note of that. But yeah, the Ojamajo had gotten into their witch's regalia in order to once again ask the magical stage to help them solve the Stooges' problem. And apparently that monkey paw joke I made was a little more accurate than I expected, as the stage's solution involves summoning a plague of frogs to chase down Sagawa. I remind you, this is supposed to get Okuyama to laugh at their jokes, because the 10 Plagues of Egypt are total knee slappers? I mean, I especially love the last one, which, yeah, I'll stop there. Sagawa ended up running into Okuyama, and the two were chased onto the roof of the school. Fortunately, with the spell having completed its objective, the frogs soon disappeared. Again, gotta love how these witch spells really don't give a damn about the sentient life it created. But yeah, thanks to the heightened adrenaline it had created, plus some conveniently placed pasta that they ruined, Sagawa managed to get a laugh out of Okuyama, with both now being able to be a little more honest with each other. Thus, the episode ended with everything returning to the status quo, because really, who cares whether or not these idiots get any sort of character development. So yeah, that was an episode that I'm sure Arto got a lot of entertainment out of. I didn't. I mean, okay, honestly, I thought it was going to be much worse as soon as I saw these three stooges in the episode preview. And while they certainly still gave me a few migraines, at least they shut up for a good chunk of this episode. Meanwhile, the stuff with Okuyama was pretty good. I mean, they did show how kids can deal with complexes over their appearances. I think they should have put a little more focus on that instead of the trio. But hey, as long as they learn something by the end of this, then we're all good. Huh? They do what next season? Along with them just not being that funny at all, the Stooges are just not appealing in any way, really. From their designs to their voice acting, which just sounds like the actresses are really trying to sound like little boys, but end up sounding like they've got something stuck in their throats. And the fact that they essentially body shame someone and apparently are going to do something even worse next season, it makes it so that I really can't care what happens to them. Heck, they didn't even really apologize to Okuyama by the end. Now, I certainly enjoyed seeing them get their comeuppance, but that's not really enough to make me want to watch a full episode featuring them. Fortunately, Okuyama and the Ojamajo kind of picked up the slack. I mean, I do like that they tackled the idea of a kid dealing with early bloomer complications and how they can cope with it. The Ojamajo, as usual, were pretty great, with Hazuki being adorable with her fangirling over her classmate, and Doremi being to show off how she can be pretty clever, even if she does lack in actual skills. I'm also starting to find the magical stage fascinating in how it often seems to rely on getting people to see other sides to each other through force and adrenaline. Again, it kind of makes it feel like a monkey's paw that grants wishes through at least slightly malicious means. Stuff like that does kind of distract me from all of the awful dad jokes, if anything else. So, apparently I was an idiot who didn't check the air dates for Healing Good, because apparently there's no new episode this weekend. Good news for me, because it gives me an extra day to work on my top 13 Higurashi characters list. Yeah, in place of my usual review, I think releasing this on Halloween weekend would work out perfectly as it matches up with the season and everything. I'll say right now, it's shaping up to be something I'm pretty proud of, so I do hope you guys enjoy it as my little Halloween treat. Look forward to it, and until then though, farewell for now my friends, and hey, what was the plague that came after frogs? Uh-oh. Guys, get the bug spray out!